What's up, diehards? Welcome to Nickel and Dime DIY. My name is Triple M, and if you're just joining me in this series, we're on to part 2, brake noises, squeaks, squeals, and rattles. And if you haven't watched part 1, I highly suggest you do that now. And just wanted to address something that somebody dropped the ball, that this is probably going to be a lot more than 3 parts this series because there's a lot of content and a lot of information. I'm trying to jam-pack into these videos to give you the most value. With the price of brakes and auto repair in general, with everything going through the roof, I mean, it's cuckoo bananas what you have to pay now. So you could be charged anywhere from $500 to $1,000 depending on where you go and what they try to get out of you. And when I was an auto mechanic, the most common thing I saw is customers who tried to do it themselves and come in and they did it incorrectly and had to pay me to fix it, so they paid even more money. I don't want that to happen. Learn from me, watch these videos, and you'll be better equipped to handle this yourself. So watch this. You just get through a little housekeeping. Working on a car is extremely dangerous. Your car is extremely hot. Here's some tools you probably need and some personal protection equipment to protect yourself, yada yada yada, etc., etc. Work at your own risk. Morning rust. Yeah, that's that rust that you see in the morning and makes like a whirring noise. Yeah, it is what it is. There's nothing you can do about it. But we're going to talk about warning indicators. That's this little metal piece located right on your brake pad. Both front and rear usually have one. Yep, that's what I'm talking about. When that's there to tell you when you hits the rotor, you need brakes. You're pretty low. Get them changed. This is what it sounds like. A lot of times it'll be more pronounced when you are turning. So you want to look for the indicators touching the rotor, and you can see light scratches with the audible like I just heard. And sometimes you can peek in through your wheels and see that your pad's low. This one's pretty, thick, but you get the point. That there's the indicator, there it's touching the rotor. There's the unpleasant noise, you can see the light scratches. Yep, there, you can see the light scratches better. That's what it really looks like. I don't know what to do about it. Replace your pads and rotors, that's it. That's what it's telling you. You need brakes. Change them, ASAP. The anti-rattle shim. The bane of a lot of people. These are those covers that usually come on both the front and the rear pads. Yep, those right there. And they always come loose. This is what it sounds like. And this is what you need to look for. Loose or broken shims. They never fit correctly. Even when you get new ones, you gotta bend those to fit on there snugly. A lot of times it's just have them floating in there. They'll be banging around in the caliper bracket, making a racket. So you gotta bend them so they fit. And if you can't bend them, then you might just want to take them off. Use disc brake quiet. Yep, right there. It's Permatex. Permatex is great. You can get the single serving ones there. You don't have to buy the big can. And you put them on and it won't make noise. Or you can get new shims, but sometimes buying the new shims, it's more cost effective to just replace the pads and the rotors. Brake hardware and clips. These have many different names, called abutment clips, whatever you want to call them. I just call them brake hardware. These are the ones that live in your caliper bracket. Sometimes they look like this. Sometimes there's 2 pieces. They usually come off with the pad, like you can see right here. These come loose. These hit the rotor, hit your pad, okay, make a whole bunch of noise. Sometimes this dial goes across the whole bracket, which you'll see in just a second. Yep, just like that. And that can get loose and then not in properly, hits the rotor, makes a heck of a noise, and it's not fun. But they could be clanking around there. This is what it sounds like. And you want to make sure they're seated properly, in place, not just hitting your rotor. Make sure the pads are moving freely, because a lot of times they get gummed up in there with all sorts of stuff. gets seized. You can see scratches on the rotor. Like, see, this one was missing clips. You can see where it was rubbing away. Surprised it wasn't making a whole lot of noise, but just definitely replace that. And easiest way to tell is you can spin the rotor. I suggest you do it with the pads and the rotor on, you know, and then if it is dirty, I would clean them. You might have to bend the clips from the sit-in properly. You're gonna have to lubricate your pads so they don't get stuck again. And this stuff from Permatex works great. This is made specifically for brakes. I wouldn't use any other old grease. You should use this because it's meant to get wet. It's meant to live in your brake system there and do what it's supposed to do. And you notice I recommend a lot of Permatex stuff, not because I get endorsed by them or paid from them. It's just I've used them over the years and the stuff works phenomenal. Like I said, what to do about it? Just try bending the clips so they fit in better. Replace the missing ones like I showed you if they're not there. Clean and lubricate your brake pad contact points so it moves freely in those clips. And in extreme cases, you may need to replace them because it may damage your rotor and pads, because I've seen that happen where they got chewed up. Now, moving on to brake pads. That's the noise that you usually hear that's annoying. Oh, there's a whole bunch of things you're going to be looking for. Excessive brake dust, glazed pads, contaminated pads, metallic pads, and even foreign objects. Now, brake dust. You know, this is pretty normal. This brake dust, that's not really what you're looking at. When it looks like that, it looks like pig pen, then you probably might have some problems. So I recommend you wash them off good. You might even want to take it to the car wash, get the undercarriage washed, wash off all the stuff there, and then dry it, and see if the noise comes back. Glazed pads. This is when you take the pad and it looks real shiny. Now I don't suggest this as a fix, but as to diagnose if that's what's causing it. You can sand your pads and rotors and drive it and see if the noise goes away. Contaminated pads, that's most likely caused by when your brake caliper starts leaking and it's just leaking brake fluid all over your brake pads. That can make quite a racket. Also, you won't be stopping as effectively, or even if someone puts your brakes on and they don't clean the oil on the rotors and the new ones, that can contaminate your pads. Now, metallic pads. That's pads that have metal built into them. They're really durable, but they make a whole lot of noise. I used to use this stuff, BG, when I worked at the shop. This stuff works phenomenal. You let it on the brake pads for 10 minutes, and then let it sit, it doesn't make a noise. I've never had a complaint with it. Foreign objects. Yes, there are things that get stuck in between your pads and rotors that can make noise. Here's some of the few things that I've experienced over the years. Pebbles. Yep, little tiny pebbles I've seen get stuck in there and just scrape along the rotor and make a racket. Or for you northerners, when it snows, what do they put on the road? Salt and sand. That can usually get trapped in there and pretty much anything. Well, almost anything. Now your backing plate. That's the piece that's behind your rotor. And it's, you know, pretty metallic, resonating. You want to make sure it's not bent and touching the rotor. Sometimes the bolts snap off, or most likely someone changes the brakes and just starts wailing away on it and spends all the time trying to bend it back into place. So you want to make sure it's not touching the rotor. Just like this, there's a nice even gap all the way around. And if it is just hanging there, then you're gonna have to disassemble the brake, and then you can see there it's only held on by a couple bolts. These bolts usually rot, snap off, so you're gonna probably have to remove the backing plate. I suggest you get another one, whether you go to the junkyard or buy a new one. What's nice is though most backing plates are used for multiple vehicles, so it shouldn't be too much. So you want to try to bend that back into place, or like I said, see if you can replace the bolts. Sometimes you get lucky if it's a newer car and the bolts just loose or came loose. And Or you just remove it for the time being and then replace it with a newer used one. Now here's some other things you may not think of. Your exhaust system. It's a treasure trove of rattles, squeaks, stuff. And a lot of times people think it's when they hit the brakes that it's making noise, but a lot of times I've experienced customers say that, and it's really something else. So I would look, if you checked everything I said, I would then go to the exhaust system, because there's a million things that'll rattle and squeak. The shields are always rotting off. If I had $1 for every shield I removed, oh, I'd be loaded. And also your skid plates and splash guards. But if you look under here, you can get a broken clamp, that'll rattle, that'll make a noise. You got heat shields here, here, and here. Sometimes you even have a broken hanger, and you don't even know it's broke because it looks fine, but then it snaps, and when you hit the brakes, clunk. There's another heat shield. Like I said, the exhaust system, there's so many things that'll rattle. So, like I said, if you checked everything, then I checked that. Now here, this is looking underneath the vehicle. Sometimes there's a skid plate or a metal shield. And chances are the bolts snap. And just like that, you step on the brakes, it hits, it makes a noise, and you think it's your brakes, but it's not, it's that. Oh, I see that look in your face. Oh, yeah, your head's spinning now. You think there was this much involved to it. Oh, there's more. There's a lot more. I'm just trying to give you the tip of the iceberg here. The next part, we'll be talking about brake grinding noises, and more specific on what's causing it and how to stop it from grinding. And I will share some of the horror stories that I experienced as a mechanic, customers bringing their stuff in. Yeah, one of them you won't believe.